His colleagues and friends had hope on him, but he lost all their money in a bet.
I am fucked.
This anguished him and left him with only two choices, either to risk his life to get it back or run away.
Are you Nicky? What the fuck are you doing?
But the choices that he made on that particular day will shock you.
You pick the player, and she'll guess the number.
Welcome back to Paramount Recapped. I don't have many subscribers, but your single comment is a ray of hope to motivate me. The film kicks off with Nicky Spurgeon, a skilled con artist, lounging at a New York bar. Spotting a blonde trying to dodge an overly persistent guy, he braces himself for some classic bar drama. But instead, Jess, the blonde, darts over to Nicky, using him as a shield.
Be my boyfriend, just for a minute.
After some flirty exchanges and a few drinks, they end up in her hotel room. Just as things heat up, a guy storms in, waving a gun, claiming to be her husband. Nicky's alarm bells go off, and instead of panicking, he just chuckles. The so-called husband looks about as intimidating as a chihuahua in a tutu.
Oh my god, it's my husband!
You got cancer.
He's on to us.
Oh shit!
Nicky rolls his eyes, explains all the ways their scam went wrong, and leaves them speechless and probably a little embarrassed. Intrigued, Nicky meets Jess for coffee the next day. He shares a wild family story about his dad and grandfather, who were con men as well, and a little trick they called the Toledo panic button. It's a scam where one partner shoots the other to make the whole act look believable.
So your father killed your grandfather?
Jess, thrilled by the idea of trickery, asks Nicky to teach her. He agrees, saying the essence of conning is mastering focus. To demonstrate, he slips a few of her belongings into his pocket mid-conversation. Jess is impressed, but probably a little worried she'll be missing her car keys next. Soon, Nicky heads down to New Orleans with his team for their next con, bringing along his quirky friend Horst. They start a small-time scheme, blending into a crowd and filching items like wallets and watches from unsuspecting passersby. Jess, ever persistent, pops back up and begs to join. Nicky lets her prove her worth, and soon she's lifting items with the skill of a professional, like an artist on an oddly specific mission. With Super Bowl week bringing crowds, they even set up fake ATMs to collect personal information. Nicky's team includes Farhad, a wisecracking scam artist with a habit of getting on everyone's nerves. Despite his gruff exterior, Jess warms up to him, even if he does tend to treat social niceties like their suggestions.
Who's the girl? You hitting that?
I'm right here.
She spots a necklace she likes, but Nicky explains the sad truth of the trade. Everything they swipe has to be sold off to avoid leaving a trail. In the heat of the moment, Jess asks Nicky if he ever dreams of a big one, a huge con that would set him up for life. Nicky laughs, saying that one big score is just a pipe dream and the real money lies in bulk work. Sticking to many smaller scams is more reliable, like a fast food chain of mischief. He warns her about romance in their line of work, though they both promptly ignore that advice. Because hey, what's life without a little rule breaking? As the big game night approaches, Nicky and Jess celebrate, taking bets on random happenings in the crowd. A rich gambler named Mr. Luyan joins, and things quickly escalate. Nicky loses several bets, and Jess, sensing they're out of their depth, tries to drag him away. But Nicky doubles down, betting the entire $1.2 million they've earned that week. As the tension rises, Jess nearly faints watching Nicky draw the wrong card. In a last-ditch effort, Nicky proposes a final, absurd bet that Jess can guess the exact player Luyan has in mind on the field. Somehow, Jess spots Farhad in a player's jersey with the number 55, and miraculously, it's the right guess. As it turns out, Nicky had been subtly planting the number 55 into Luyan's head all day, proving yet again he's 3 steps ahead, even when it looks like he's just winging it. With the massive win secured, Nicky suddenly arranges for Jess to be driven to the airport, handing her a chunk of the earnings without so much as a goodbye. Jess is left dumbfounded, clutching her money and wondering if she just got conned by the con of her life. 3 years pass, and Nicky resurfaces in Buenos Aires, Argentina, now working for Rafael Garriga, a big-shot race car owner. Nicky's latest job is to sabotage Garriga's rival by selling him a fake Formula Mint to boost race performance. Nicky arrives at Garriga's lavish party, ready to charm and deceive his way through this high-stakes con. But as he surveys the room, there's Jess, looking like she's about to make his life a lot more complicated. So much for leaving people behind. Nicky, who struggles with alcohol, tells the bartender to pour him water instead of vodka when he orders it, hoping to create the illusion that he's drinking. As he mingles with guests, he spots Jess descending the stairs in a striking red dress, but his attention quickly shifts when he sees her kiss Raphael. Filled with jealousy, Nicky approaches Jess, who calmly tells him that she's managed fine on her own. Frustrated, Nikki tries to drink but finds his glass has been switched to water by a vigilant bartender aware of his issue. He ends up having one too many Appletonus and plays the disgruntled ex-employee, but in a moment of rage, punches Raphael instead of simply pushing him, letting his emotions get the best of him. Owens promptly escorts Nikki out, where he's intercepted by one of McEwen's guards, inviting him to a private lunch with McEwen. During the lunch, Nikki finds himself distracted by Jess, who continues to flirt with Raphael nearby. Nikki can't shake his irritation, and their business conversation lingers until McEwen finally agrees to a deal once Nikki's fake algorithm is proven convincing. In attempts to reconnect with Jess, Nikki goes to great lengths, even staging an encounter where an elderly woman drops her handbag just to have an excuse to talk to Jess. She teases him playfully, saying she's learned much since their last encounter and is no longer interested in his tricks. As a last-ditch effort, Nikki enlists Farhad's help to speak to Jess on his behalf. Farhad brings her the necklace she had wanted years ago as a peace offering from Nikki. They finally have a genuine conversation, and Nikki tells her how lost he's felt since New Orleans, even admitting he once considered asking his father for help. Jess cuts to the chase, asking him what he really wants from her. Nikki claims he's changed, but Jess remains skeptical, calling out his deceptive nature. She leaves, but Nikki follows her, finding her waiting at his hotel room door later. They spend the night together, and the next morning, Nikki invites her to leave town with him that night. Before they can make plans, Owens shows up at Nikki's door, and Nikki tries to brush him off. Jess hides as Owens looks around suspiciously, muttering about young con artists. She narrowly escapes out to the balcony, while Owens leaves a package. Later, Nikki decides to sell Raphael's algorithm not just to McEwen, but to every rival team, walking away with a hefty 27 million euros. Just as he's about to leave, Jess catches up to him, and they share a tense moment before being intercepted by McEwen's guard, who rams their car. Both Nikki and Jess are taken to one of Raphael's warehouses, mouths taped shut. Raphael, having figured out that Nikki sold the algorithm to everyone, questions him on how he obtained the real one. He taunts Nikki by holding Jess's nose until Nikki confesses, admitting he had bugged Jess's necklace to track Raphael's computer password when she returned to his room. Jess, distressed, tells Nikki that she never actually slept with Raphael, but only flirted to make him jealous, only wanting his valuable watch. Finally, Nikki confesses, but before he can explain further, Owens shoots him in the chest, horrifying Raphael and causing him to flee. Jess, thinking Nikki is fatally wounded, breaks down and professes her love. Just as it seems Nikki might die, Owens reveals he shot him in a way that avoided major arteries, carefully extracting the bullet to keep him alive. Owens, whom Jess now realizes is actually Nikki's father Bucky, admits they just pulled off the Toledo panic button together, a risky trick he taught Nikki years before. Owens explains the real algorithm had been in the package he left for Nikki, and he helps Nikki and Jess out to his car. As Owens drives them to the hospital, he reminds Nikki of the risks of letting emotions interfere with cons. Before leaving, he also takes the bulk of their earnings. Supporting Nikki as they enter the hospital, Jess smiles when she notices she's still wearing Raphael's pricey watch.